Happy New Year, my dear Radio Udaan listeners. This is your RJ Babuji Janakarajan, and this is the great Indian Monologue talk show. On the auspicious day of the great New Year 2023 is going to turn out for all of us, I would like to regale you all with the story of a brilliant child who went on to create one of the best educational institutions of the world, all with a starting money of just 25 paise. 25 paise, yeah. Many of you wouldn't even have known that such a denomination existed for the coin, but this was the reality. This was a world I'm talking about, which was the India of the 1920s and 1930s. Okay, don't say Madhav Anand Pai, TMA Pai, was from a lower middle class family in a fishing hamlet called Manipal. He was a brilliant student in his primary education years, and he goes to Bangalore to pursue his medicine degree, MBBS degree. Okay, he becomes a doctor. And then, as any aspiring doctor with a brilliant mind, he also wants to go abroad to learn more about his craft. He chooses Japan as a place of higher education, but his mom refuses flat out, telling him that come back to our village and serve the local people because they need you more. He tries to refuse and he cries his heart out, but nothing works. So reluctantly, he comes back home to the fishing hamlet and pitches his medical tent. Within a very short while, he realizes that, most of the people from this poor fishing community had the usual illness like, fever, malnutrition, diarrhea, and cholera, and whatnot. And he also realizes that he is not able to earn much because the whole community living around him is not earning much. Because a typical fishing hamlet, the man goes to the sea, he brings home the fish plus other bounty the sea offers. The women folk in the family, and they clean up, they start, and they sell it in the market, they bring home the money, and the man takes away the money to get himself drunk. So the children and the women, they stay poor, they stay malnutrition. This is the vicious cycle the whole fishing community is living in the 1920s. I tell this story in the present tense because it makes it more relevant than referring it as a past event. Okay. So Mr. Pai, he keeps talking to the women folk and he keeps asking them how much they save in a month. And they all scoff at him, telling him what's saving. Whatever little money we save, our drunk husbands, they extort it from us. They actually forcefully take the money from us and they drink more. That's the only thing. So what saving you talk about? It makes him think deep and he comes up with a very nice solution. So what he says to the women folk in the village, look, I would send my compounder to your home when your husband is not around. Whatever little money you save, you give it to him. He will make entry in a book. I'll keep another book in which the same entry will be made. So this is double entry bookkeeping. So you know what you save and I know what you save. Let's give it a shot. Reluctantly, some women, they start doing this and soon the news spreads and obviously all the other women in the village, they also start doing the saving, right? So 25 paise he collects, and after a while he realizes that the collection has grown more than 1,000 rupees. 1,000 rupees back in 1920s is more than a few tens of lakhs as of today's monetary value, right? So the initial task achieved, he moves on to the next one, that is providing nutritive food to the children and women. So he picks up another conversation with the women folk and asks them, look, if I give you a cow. No, it was not the first question he asked. Initially he asked them, what about offering your kids a cup of milk daily? Because rice and fish, they only provide some extent of nutrition and you need much more, right? For a healthy growing body. and they all scoff at him, telling, we can't even afford the rice for our meal, and you ask us to buy milk. How do we do that? Then he offers them cows. He says, I will buy you a cow. I'll give you a cow on your money, but you don't pay upfront. You take a glass of milk from the daily milking. Whatever milk you need for your family. And the rest of the milk you give me, I will sell it. I will adjust the cost of the cow against the sale proceeds of the milk. Heavy reluctance, no woman agrees initially, but then reluctantly one starts. Soon the news spreads, and like the Me Too, once you have a successful model, everybody would love to follow that, right? So soon, many women in the village, they start having their own cow, and slowly the health quotient of the children, they increase, and the illness go down. See, this guy who set out to earn money on his medical profession, he is doing things which are totally opposite, in the sense, if the whole community around you lives happy and healthy, so why would they need a doctor? But this is what he exactly has set out to do, because by this time he has grown his ambitions to a different level. He wants to uplift the whole community who's living around him. You forget the medical degree. This is a much bigger purpose in life, right? So this is what he is set about. The next stop, banks. He goes to the banks nearby, asking around for loans for these people, so they could do some kind of, local craft, mostly weavers community nearby. But the banks refuse to lend anything to a bunch of people who are from a dirt poor village, a fishing village, where alcohol rules the roost and it takes away most of the money. Many interactions and many discussions and many refusals later, he decides to start a bank precisely to serve the local people. The moment you think about a bank, you have an image of a, big building with a lot of steel, concrete and glass, and, people in sophisticated dresses and hi-fi vehicles in cities, right? Modern cities. But the bank he founded it in his village, Manipur, which was hardly having a few thousand residents. And while all other banks in the region and the whole country were demanding a starting deposit of ₹5, his bank requested the patron to deposit as low as 25 paise to open an account. This really created a revolution in the Indian banking industry, and this particular scheme, this 25 paise deposit, was later named as Pygmy Deposit Scheme. Pygmies are, the people who are, really, really short, right? They don't grow tall. So the pygmy, it means small. So a small saving deposit, it actually started in this bank, which later became the syndicate bank, the big bank for the poor man. So Mr. Pai, who starts a bank in Manipal, and he grows it in no time because his ideals are placed in the right place. And very soon, after having established the goal of providing nutritive food to the people and making them healthy, he wants to educate them so that they serve higher purpose in their life. They can dream, aspire to become whatever they want to be. So he starts education institutions and schools initially, one school, which then grows on. And in a while, he starts the Mahatma Gandhi Memorial College to provide higher education to the kids who grew up from his village. How come this man, this singular man, had such kind of a resolve, having been trained as a doctor and with the ambitions to go abroad to earn more, doing totally different things, totally opposite things, which is really not going to make him wealthy at that point in time. But why was he doing it, and what was driving him? TMA Pai was a different individual. He was not an ordinary guy with ordinary ambitions, which was very evident from right his schooling years. I will share a couple of anecdotes from the schooling times which stood him apart from the rest of the class. In one of the exam times, the students were not willing to do some kind of a preparatory exam because the main exam was nearby and they didn't want to spend time writing an exam in between. So it was kind of a rebellion act, from the point of view of the school. Mr. Pai, he motivated the students to write a petition, which could be given to the headmaster, asking the headmaster to drop the preparatory exam. He had the power of persuasion, and the skill to draft a neat, persuasive petition. When it comes to signing the petition, there was a big problem. Whoever signs the petition first would be deemed as the leader of the rebel by the management of the school. This was a prevailing thought. This is a prevailing thought even today, right? If you are the first signatory for anything, you will be considered the person responsible for it, and everybody else who signs after you, they only assist you kind of. So nobody was willing to sign first. And then Mr. Pai, he devised a brilliant way, which was later, praised by the headmaster also. So what he did, he drew a circle using a compass and asked all the students to sign along the periphery. So for a circle, there is no beginning and there is no end, right? So everybody became equal signatories in this process. This thing to make everybody equal and everybody participate, it drove whatever he did for his entire life, which I will cover a bit later. Right, the second incident, the very school he was a student of, it had monetary issues because the school couldn't afford to renew, to actually renovate and to pay good for the teachers and so on. So he took it upon himself to raise funds. He tries his hand in the local community, and though they are helpful, the money was a pittance, a very small amount of what was actually needed. So he goes off to Mumbai. He starts talking to most of the healthy traders and businessmen he knew, convinces them to give money to his institute. And he was very clever. He said, if you're not able to give in money, you give in kind. It may be bricks, it may be wood, it may be the vehicle expense, whatever it is, but please do help us to renovate our institute. Money started flowing and the school got a big facelift, and more students were able to join the school and get good quality education. So all these were little seeds which went into creating the first private bank with its root in rural India in a fishing hamlet called Syndicate Bank. He didn't stop with it, okay? After starting the bank and after getting a national license, he started lending to the weavers community to uplift their life, and meanwhile he started building educational institutions, starting from Mahatma Gandhi Memorial College, and later on he goes on to establish the first privately funded, privately owned medical college in India, the Kasturba Medical College in Manipal, and many other institutes, educational institutes in that small village, making it a model educational village for the whole world. Right? So right through, his idea was upliftment of the poor from poverty, from malnutrition, and from economic poverty too. And nobody in India had succeeded like Mr. T.M.A. Pai, who kept adding more and more to the rustic fiber of India, the rustic fabric of India, to make it what it is today. Many thousands of students who were educated from the Pai founded institutes, they went on to become global leaders. And now the institute has spread its wings. It has become a truly international educational group with branches in Malaysia, a few branches in India, and then in Malaysia, then Antigua and whatnot. Okay. And, a doctor who wanted to practice, who wanted to earn more by way of higher education and serving, affordable clients. He brought affordability to a small village in India, and by doing that, he gave the country a template of how to do it. Many of us may not even be aware that such a person lived, and he was a founder of the Syndicate Bank, which had been taken over by Canara Bank in the last year or so. And his footprints, his fingerprints are all over Manipal. If you ever visit Udupi, the small town which has a fantastic Krishna temple, Udupi Krishna temple, and a Malpe beach, make some time to travel some 3-4 kilometers to the village Manipal, which is nearby, and you would see an enormous hub of people, all young children with a lot of aspiration to become global leaders from all walks of life. I mean, from dirt poor families to ultra-rich families, all of them, they mingle there like a giant melting pot. And in this process, they keep helping our country to grow and to achieve whatever Mr. Pai envisaged as a young child who was refused higher education and forced to serve the poor around his village. Thank you, my dear listeners, for listening to this wonderful, uplifting, fabulous story of a man from a lower middle class family of India back in 1920s, when the facilities were not as good as what we have today, even if you keep complaining that these are not good enough. And at a time when India was ruled by a foreign country, where freedom was restricted, he was able to achieve all this because he had a dream, not just a dream, but he had the brain power and the heart to back it up with solid action. I hope his story motivates us all to pursue whatever dreams we have with whatever limitations we have. Stay blessed and stay focused, and you will reach your destination in the happiest mindset. I wish you all a fantastic Happy New Year again from the bottom of my heart, and may all your dreams come true in this new year 2023, so that we can start dreaming of more things for us, not just material things, but more things for our soul, which gives, comforts and enrichment and nourishment to our souls and our hearts. Okay. Stay blessed, stay tuned. I'm your RJ Babuji Janakarajan. This is Radio Udaan, and you just listened to yet another episode of the Great Indian Monologue. Bye.